Before Europeans arrived, the land now called the United States was home to diverse indigenous peoples. These native communities had been living on this land for thousands of years, developing complex societies and rich cultures. They had their own systems of governance, spiritual beliefs, and ways of interacting with the natural world. From the Atlantic to the Pacific, hundreds of tribes thrived with unique languages, cultures, and ways of life. Each tribe had its own distinct identity, yet they all shared a deep connection to the land and nature. These were vibrant societies with deep roots and rich traditions. Their ceremonies, art, and daily practices reflected a profound understanding of their environment and a respect for the earth. The eastern woodlands had tribes like the Iroquois Confederacy, skilled farmers and hunters. They cultivated crops such as corn, beans, and squash, and their political systems were highly organized. The Cherokee in the south developed a written language and sophisticated agriculture. They built permanent villages and were known for their resilience and adaptability. The Great Plains were home to nomadic tribes like the Sioux and Cheyenne, who relied on buffalo. These tribes followed the herds, which provided them with food, clothing, and materials for shelter. The Pacific Northwest had skilled fishermen and traders like the Chinook and Tlingit. They built complex societies based on the abundant resources of the rivers and oceans, and their trade networks extended far and wide. Christopher Columbus's arrival in 1492 marked a significant turning point in the history of the Americas. His voyages, initially aimed at finding a new route to Asia, instead opened the floodgates for European exploration and colonization of the New World. The arrival of Columbus and subsequent explorers brought profound changes to the continent. European powers, driven by the promise of new lands and resources, began to establish their presence. His voyages opened the floodgates for European exploration and colonization. Spanish conquistadors, driven by a thirst for gold and land, left a trail of conquest and devastation in their wake. The Spanish were soon followed by the English, French, and Dutch, who established their own settlements along the Atlantic coast. Each nation sought to expand its influence and control over the new territories. The English, French, and Dutch soon joined, establishing settlements along the Atlantic coast. These early colonies became the foundation for future nations in North America. Relationships with Native Americans were complex, involving trade, cultural exchange, and conflict. While some tribes engaged in mutually beneficial trade, others faced violent confrontations. Europeans brought diseases like smallpox, which decimated native populations. These diseases, to which Native Americans had no immunity, caused widespread death and suffering. As colonies expanded, Native Americans were forcibly removed from their lands. This displacement led to the loss of traditional territories and ways of life for many tribes. Despite overwhelming odds, many tribes fiercely resisted European expansion. Their resistance was marked by numerous battles and skirmishes, as they fought to protect their homelands. The clash of cultures and struggle for land shaped the relationship between Native Americans and settlers. This tumultuous period laid the groundwork for the complex and often contentious interactions that would continue for centuries. In the 18th century, discontent brewed in the American colonies. The British government imposed taxes like the Stamp Act, seen as unjust by colonists. No taxation without representation became a rallying cry. The British attempts to control trade and quarter troops fueled resentment. Events like the Boston Massacre inflamed anti-British sentiment. Leaders like Thomas Paine, John Adams, and Benjamin Franklin emerged, advocating for independence. Paine's common sense swayed public opinion towards revolution. The desire for freedom and self-governance set the stage for the American Revolution. The colonies were on the brink of a momentous struggle for independence. In 1775, tensions between Great Britain and its colonies erupted into armed conflict. The colonies, yearning for independence and self-governance, could no longer tolerate the oppressive rule and unfair taxation imposed by the British Crown. This growing unrest set the stage for a monumental struggle that would change the course of history. The battles of Lexington and Concord marked the start of the American Revolutionary War. These initial skirmishes demonstrated the colonists' determination to fight for their rights and liberties, igniting a revolutionary spirit across the 13 colonies. The Continental Army, led by George Washington, faced a formidable British military. Washington's leadership and strategic acumen were crucial in rallying the diverse and often under-equipped colonial forces against the well-trained and well-supplied British troops. The Battle of Saratoga was a turning point, convincing France to ally with the Americans. This alliance brought much-needed supplies, troops and naval support, significantly bolstering the colonial war effort and altering the balance of power in favor of the revolutionaries. Washington's leadership kept the revolution alive through triumphs and hardships. His ability to inspire and maintain the morale of his troops, even in the face of severe adversity, was instrumental in sustaining the fight for independence. The winter at Valley Forge showcased the resilience of the Continental Army. Despite the brutal cold, lack of supplies, and rampant disease, the soldiers' unwavering commitment to the cause of freedom was evident, as they endured and emerged stronger. The American Revolution was a testament to the courage and sacrifice of ordinary colonists. Farmers, merchants, and tradesmen took up arms, leaving their homes and families to fight for a vision of a free and independent nation. From Saratoga to Yorktown, the fight for freedom was relentless. Each battle, each skirmish, brought the colonies closer to their ultimate goal of independence, showcasing their unyielding spirit and determination. These men and women were about to etch their names in history. Their bravery and sacrifices laid the foundation for a new nation, one built on the principles of liberty, equality, and justice for all. After years of struggle, the American colonies secured independence in 1783 with the Treaty of Paris. The United States embarked on the task of self-governance. The Founding Fathers drafted the Constitution, establishing a framework for a democratic republic. The Constitution emphasized individual rights, separation of powers, and checks and balances. The young nation faced challenges like westward expansion and relations with native tribes. Despite challenges, the pursuit of a more perfect union guided the nation's path. The American Revolution represented a bold experiment in self-governance, inspiring movements worldwide. The American Revolution marked the birth of a new nation and a new era of liberty and self-determination. The struggle for independence inspired revolutionaries and reformers worldwide. The legacy of the revolution is complex, with ideals of liberty and equality often falling short. Marginalized groups like African Americans and Native Americans continue to face oppression. The pursuit of an inclusive and equitable society remains ongoing. The revolution remains a testament to the power of ideas and the enduring human aspiration for freedom.